Hey guys, Zombie Wars here, and welcome back again to another video. Today I wanted to make a follow-up video to the leaks going around about Springtrap's quote-unquote leaked power, which part of it involves him using an axe that's recallable, similar to Junker Queen from Overwatch. Before we get to this video, please leave a like on today's video and comment down below what your thoughts are on the Springtrap leaked power, because it seems really divisive for a lot of people, as I've seen half the people don't really mind the power, and half the people really don't like it, myself included somewhat. Be sure to subscribe as well if you'd like to stay updated on DBD leaks and news as well as speculation such as this video. Anyways, I wanted to follow up on it as it's a big topic going around the DBD community at this moment. For this video, we're going all in with the assumption that this is real, but remember, with all leaks, it's important to take them with a grain of salt and not to believe everything you see. Everything is fake until proven otherwise, essentially. Especially since this power is very reminiscent of the power Springtrap has in a game called Pillar Chase in Roblox. DBD Leaks, the most reliable of all the DBD leak sources, has been against this leak, which is somewhat telling of this power. So far, 3 sources have come out advocating for this being a power, however. My anonymous source is one of them, which I've mentioned in several videos now. DBD Floods is the second one, and admittedly was the first one to post as public. However, DBD Floods is known to deliberately post fake information pretty much consistently, and he seemed to only post the Springtrap leak due to some drama between him and the third source, which is RuthlessLeaks. Now, Ruthless has been right about a lot of leaks, but they've also been wrong before, so there's potential this could be the case here. In Ruthless's defense, they did say they're not 100% sure if this is the power or not, but they still went out and posted it anyways, so we're covering it. Either way, I wanted to break down the power, whether it's real or not, have a little fun with it, and start a discussion about this power, and pretty much go over the good, the bad, and the ugly of Springtrap's potential power. So we're going to break down the power, and I'm only going to give information provided from my anonymous source as well as Ruthless, as I'm inclined to believe very little of what DBD Floods posts. So what exactly is Springtrap's leaked axe power? Part 1. Throws an axe and recalls it to pull survivors. Also has a circumstantial jump scare screen that pops up. Some sort of undetectable feature as well. There are security doors around the map similar to Singular's EMP boxes, where survivors can track Springtrap, and Springtrap can traverse around the map. There are also cameras in front of doors to check them. So basically, Springtrap's ability is to throw his fire axe at survivors. Now, what I'm curious about is how much damage will this cause survivors when he lands an axe hit? Because I would imagine that this power would lurk more like Deathslinger than Huntress, and if it were to injure survivors and like recall them back to Springtrap and he would be able to M1 them, I feel like that would be just way too strong. So I don't see it working the exact same way as like Huntress and Deathslinger combined. I'm wondering if the axe would even do damage when you throw it at the survivor. It'd be really weird if it doesn't, so I don't see that happening, because it would be like, why does the axe throw for Springtrap not damage, but it does for like the Huntress? Now, when it comes to the circumstantial jump scare screen, I would like to know more specifically on what this means, and if I had to guess, it would tie to that undetectable feature that Ruthless mentioned in the leak. So the circumstantial jump scare screen, I think, is going to have to do with him going around and teleporting through the map through the security doors, which, while we're at it, I would like to see what these security doors even look like in game, because I would imagine it looking very awkward. I personally made a power concept about Springtrap traveling through vents separately around the map, kind of similar to this leak, but instead of security doors, it's vents. I'm curious if changes have been made since Ruthless and my anonymous source have told me this information, because this is something that's been known since before Pillar Chase Springtrap was even added. I have no way of verifying this. This is from Ruthless. I was only told about the leak after Springtrap. Now, regarding complaints I've seen about this power, there are a few of them. The big one is that Springtrap has never used an axe before in the series, and that is true. Springtrap using an axe is entirely a fan interpretation of him, and he's never used it in official FNAF media, at least in the games. In any official FNAF media, Springtrap is usually portrayed using a knife, or, well, you know, himself, because he's a giant robot. The thing is that while this is true, I could imagine the idea of using a knife for Springtrap came across in discussions for this chapter between Behavior and Scott, and the idea of using a knife is just kind of underwhelming for DBD at this point with the amount of killers that use a knife. It would also just be kind of hard to base a power around using a knife. If this leak were to be true, I would imagine they would work with Scott and base the power on popular fan adaptations of him in Dead by Daylight, Daylight, which seemingly seem to feature him using an axe quite often. We know that Blumhouse and Scott Cawthon both use fan interpretations of Michael Afton to develop the FNAF movie, so it's not out of the realm of possibility to imagine the same thing would happen with the DBD chapter. While I've always personally advocated for the use of Springtrap just using himself as a weapon, similar to like Nemesis, I don't think it's surprising at all to imagine Scott and Behavior saw all these fan adaptations of Springtrap using an axe and wanted to just live up to the fandom's demand. Because there's just an abundance of fan concepts where Springtrap is using an axe as a weapon, most of which are very popular as well. Now here's where I think the second issue lies. I think the mistake here, however, was basing the power itself around the axe and not just the use of the axe itself. The axe throw ability seemingly gives Springtrap this like Thor-like ability, and it just seems like really weird and out of place. There have been some concepts I've seen on Twitter that make this recall ability look really sick, such as using the souls to bring it back, which I'm honestly all for. I think that's such a sick concept, and honestly that's such a DBD thing to do as well, to be honest. Of course there are still elements to the games. I see a lot of people saying this has nothing to do with FNAF, but I see a lot of people not mention the fact that survivors can literally use security cameras to track Springtrap, which is something I think would be really cool and a lot of people are overlooking and would be a very big first for Dead by Daylight. Of course you have cameras with the Singularity, but it would be a very big first if survivors themselves can use cameras to track a killer. Again, this is a concept I used in a previous power prediction video. However, I think basing his power around the axe throw would just be very weird to say the least. I really hope that if this power is in fact true and he does have this axe throw ability, the focus on his character is not the axe throwing, but rather the use of cameras and his ability to teleport and jump scare, which I believe would work very similar to the Demogorgon rather than the Xenomorph, where you can travel through security doors and possibly some sort of ventilation system. It's possible that even though his axe throw is a part of his kit, that it's not the main thing. I know a lot of people were saying he should be able to jump scare survivors, and he is. That is part of his power, so maybe that will be a big part of it. Ruthless did say it was circumstantial though, so I'm curious if that means it's going to be very little, or if it's going to be something like Kenneki, where when you grab a survivor, you have that pop-up where if you hit it right, you get enraged longer. Maybe something similar will happen with Springtrap, where if you bring a survivor in, you can jump scare them at the right time, and then you get some sort of undetectable status. I'm just really hopeful for this chapter. These are of course all leaks, so literally everything in this video could just not happen, and honestly it's very likely Springtrap will be something different or a variation of it. Even if these leaks are real, it's been discussed since before the inclusion of Springtrap in this Pillar Chase game, so if it is real, there have probably been changes regardless, as Springtrap would be very early in its development. I still think it's very fun to speculate about Springtrap in Dead by Daylight though, considering that we are now less than a month away from his reveal, and I've been waiting for Springtrap to come into Dead by Daylight for so long now, and we'll never have the opportunity to speculate about Springtrap once he's finally in the game. So what do you guys think about the power? And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace out, guys.